by Moscow. More from ABC's John Martin.
The Ames spy investigation has set off a frenzy of self-examination. On Capitol Hill, a committee chairman suggested, only half facetiously, that the CIA break up a fraternity-style network among senior officers who have served too long together.
Sometimes I think that maybe we ought to consider something like term limits for spies.
A former CIA director pointed to the agency's alleged failure to catch Ames lying about his double life.
I think the CIA does tend to rely on the polygraph more than it probably should.
Even though American spy operations were allegedly compromised, official Washington was calling this a test of Russian goodwill.
The extent of the effect of this incident on our relationship with Russia will depend upon Russian actions in the days ahead.
But in Moscow, the Russians were counseling restraint, citing their own low-key reaction to American spying.
We don't make big fuss out of it. Why should Americans use every occasion just to provoke tension between our countries?
A lawyer for Ames said his client was in good spirits and intended to plead not guilty. But an analyst familiar with national security cases said that might not be wise.
The defendant's best bet is probably to make a deal so that Ames could at least buy some leniency for his wife.
Mrs. Ames was said by Justice Department sources to be cooperating with investigators, leading to speculation that it might force her husband to admit that he was a spy for the Russians. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
In Moscow today, Boris Yeltsin delivered his State of the Union address to the Russian parliament, a parliament where the president had very little support on an important question. More from ABC's David Ensor in Moscow.
The speech came just a day after his parliament threw down the gauntlet before Boris Yeltsin, voting amnesty for his worst enemies, the coup plotters of 1991 and the rebels of 1993. But Russia's president did not want to fight. Instead, he pleaded for an end to political confrontation. We have no more time for internal conflicts, he said, and proceeded to list Russia's problems, which he said will destroy the country unless politicians unite to solve them. Crime, he said, is overwhelming Russia. Just yesterday, it touched someone close to Yeltsin. One of the heads of his bodyguard detail was gunned down as he left his apartment. Then there is inflation. The president said it is putting millions below the poverty line. Russia's factories are still producing goods nobody needs. And in the countryside, private ownership of land is still not clearly guaranteed. But there were no specifics in the speech on how to tackle the problems. His extreme nationalist opponents immediately said Yeltsin should be replaced.
A new president, a new government, a new president of government.
Inside Lefortovo prison today, Yeltsin's rivals Alexander Rutskoy and Ruslan Hezbollatov are preparing themselves for freedom. Russia's prosecutor general says he is ready to free the anti-Yeltsin rebels just as soon as he gets the necessary documents from the parliament. Their freedom will make Russia's politics even more turbulent than they are now. Mort?
Thank you, David. David Ensor reporting from the ABC Moscow Bureau. It's a soap opera that may be on its way to becoming a fairy tale. America's women figure skaters took to the ice yesterday in the first round of Olympic competition. Tanya Harding had a tough time on the ice, but Nancy Kerrigan dazzled the judges with a near-perfect performance. ABC's Dick Schaap has more.
The Ballettes double toe loop, beautifully done.
Kerrigan skated her technical program without a flaw, so impressively that she soared into first place, overtaking the favorites, Oksana Bayul of the Ukraine and Surya Bonali of France, who are second and third going into tomorrow's long program.
This is the first time I've been this consistent in a long program, which counts more, and for me it was a big challenge, and I'm really excited for Friday.
Harding, tumbling into 10th place, has no chance for even a bronze medal. She had trouble landing a triple Lutz early in her program and skated without mishap until she had a bumpy double flip before hitting a double axel late in her program. In layman's terms, she made 2 errors and looked uninspired. In her coach's words,
it was not Tanya's best performance. It was a good performance, but it wasn't her best.
Kerrigan is no cinch for the gold medal. Her European rivals excel at the long program. But at least Nancy can look forward to Friday, while Tanya's future is still uncertain. Dick Schaap, ABC News, Hamar, Norway.
Another international athletic competition, the Gay Games, will get underway in New York City this June. And there's a report that foreign visitors infected with the AIDS virus will be allowed to attend. U.S. visas are usually denied to anyone infected with certain communicable diseases, including AIDS. But Attorney General Janet Reno reportedly ordered the rule waived for the gay games. The Northeast is in the midst of number 13. 13, an unlucky number for road and air travelers, but lucky for skiers, the 13th snowstorm to hit the region this winter season. It's bringing half a foot of snow to New England today. It left nearly a foot of snow in the Midwest yesterday. A remarkable discovery is raising new questions about the origin of man. Scientists believe this skull may indicate the human race developed not just in Africa, but in many other places as well. And now back to Hong Kong.
8 minutes after right now, and behind me across the water, behind all those sampans, all that bustling activity, is the boat club, and that's where Spencer Christian is this morning. Good morning, Spencer.
Good morning, Joan. Yes, back at the Aberdeen Boat Club at Aberdeen Harbor, and behind me is one of the biggest, literally biggest tourist attractions in all of Hong Kong. It's the famous Jumbo Floating Restaurant, the biggest floating restaurant in Southeast Asia. It's probably the biggest in the world. I know it's the biggest in Southeast Asia. All three of those segments that are anchored together are part of the same restaurant under the same ownership. The segment in the center alone seats 2,000 people. Altogether, they seat over 4,000 people, and they serve over 5,000 people daily. This is really something to see, especially at nighttime when it's all lit up. And you could probably even get jumbo shrimp there. That's a look at Jumbo. Now let's take a look at today's national weather forecast. And now here's a look at today's high temperatures. That's the national weather picture. Now here's a look at the weather where you are.
It'll be a cloudy day where we are, with scattered snow flurries off and on. A snow shower could dump an inch or two in the snowbelt regions anytime today. Our high holding steady right around 28 degrees with west winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Winds will go westerly tonight at 5 to 15 miles per hour. It'll be mostly overcast and cold with the low dropping down to 17. Tomorrow, more snow moving in. On-off snow flurries and snow showers could accumulate 1 to 3 inches by the time it's all done. We'll have a high of 27.
And I'll have more from the Aberdeen Boat Club in just a few minutes. Charlie?
Thanks very much, Spencer. It's 10 minutes after the hour. This very day could turn out to be rather important in Hong Kong history, because early this morning, Hong Kong's parliament voted to take the first small steps toward expanding democracy in defiance of the Communist Chinese, who will take possession of Hong Kong, as you know, in 1997. To understand what happened today and how important it is, you have to know that at present, Hong Kong has only a very limited form of democracy. But the British governor here, in the face of strong opposition from China, proposed greatly increasing that democracy before the Chinese takeover in 1997, when it would be too late. So early this morning, LegCo, as the parliament is called here, did approve the first part of the governor's plan. And so joining us this morning are two rather tired legislators who have been up a good part of the night. Emily Loud is with us. She is very pro-democracy, and Ronald Arcully, who supports the Chinese view. I don't understand, having been here now a week, watching Hong Kong politicians tie themselves in knots over how much democracy will exist when the Chinese take over, because, as I look at it, you'll have as much democracy as the Chinese are willing to give you.
Well, but we also have a thing called a joint declaration that was signed between Britain and China in 1984. And in the agreement, the two countries promised that Hong Kong will have a high degree of autonomy, we will rule Hong Kong, and da-da-da-da-da-da.
They promised.
That's right.
They promised.
Now these are broken promises. You're right. And I think we are very, very upset. And what's more, we are very scared. We are going to be gobbled up by Communist China in 3 years' time.
There's really no enforcing mechanism. If the Chinese decide to just disband the legislature, it would be disbanded, wouldn't it?
What can Britain do? What can the whole world do? They can scream, they can tear their hair out. But of course, Britain can give us passports, give us a lifeboat, because there are over 3 million out of 6 million here who are British citizens. That's the one thing that Britain can do unilaterally for us.
So, Mr. Arcully, then why the fight over all this? Because it does have you all tied in knots here.
I think it's a combination of our background, where the British have been here for 150 years without democracy. And in the twilight of their administration, they're trying to introduce a large measure of it. And I think those of us that have been here for a long time, my family's been here 150 years, we want a smooth transition into Chinese sovereignty. We recognize that sooner or later we have to unify with China, rather like East and West Germany.
I find an interesting anomaly in your position. You are a businessman. You have the name of your party is?
Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party, but you are a businessman, and yet you are basically supporting the Chinese point of view that we should not expand.
No, I think that's not right. I think what you have to look at is the history of the whole proceedings between Britain and China. In 1989, 1990, they had an understanding. And I think the Chinese point of view is that the British are departing from that understanding, and that is correct.
Wasn't the time to negotiate all this, how much democracy would be here after the Chinese take over? Wasn't the time to negotiate that back in 1984 when the British and the Chinese first worked out this agreement?
Of course it's true, and it was very disgraceful for Britain to negotiate, to claim to negotiate on our behalf. If you remember the Falkland Islands, 1,800 people in a British colony, which Ronald Reagan called an icy cold bunch of rocks. Britain fought a war for 1,800 people, and Mrs. Thatcher kept saying, the wishes of the Falkland Islanders are paramount. But in Hong Kong's case, there are 6 million of us, and our wishes never matter. It's disgraceful that we've been sold down the river. But nevertheless, we all have a future to look forward to, isn't it? You can't say, oh, I'm sorry, it's too little, too late, and we ain't gonna do anything.
Well, the British all say to me, though, we didn't have democracy here. Democracy wasn't already in place because, frankly, the people in Hong Kong didn't want it.
I think to some extent, I think that's right. And I think Emily and I would, however bitter we are about no democracy in Hong Kong until now, I think to some extent we have to, shoulder a little bit of the blame. But that having been said, they should have seen the writing on the wall years ago and introduced it much earlier. But I suppose they wanted to rule the place easier.
You took the first small steps early this morning.
Very small.
Very small toward expanding democracy. Larger steps to come, which the Chinese oppose. Will the legislature here pass those steps of expanding democracy?
Well, I only have one vote. Ronald has got, what, 14, 15? Ask him. I think he will vote against the governor. Is that right, Ronald?
I think we will make amendments to the governor's proposal. I think, in fact, if the governor's proposal falls in line with the basic law, we'll go along with it. I think what we want is, as best a chance as possible.
But if you're trying to amend the governor's proposal, if you're trying to limit the amount of democracy that is expanded, that sounds to me like you are supporting the Chinese position.
It's not a question of limiting the amount of democracy. It's really the pace of democracy that is, in fact, in discussion. Come 1995, all of us in LegCo will be elected. And that everyone is sticking to. There's no question about that.
One fascinating part to me, you all worry about how much democracy should be here and whether the Chinese should be riled by expanding democracy. And yet both of you, I gather, favor continuing most favored nation status for China in the U.S. vote. The U.S. is about to decide whether to keep most favored nation status with China.
I think you have to draw a difference between just saying, yes, let's give MFN to China. I think in my case, it is important because many Hong Kong businesses are related to China, and if MFN is revoked, then I think Hong Kong will be directly hurt. But I think I'm one of those who think that it is very important to persuade China to improve the human rights track record. And if something can be done, that Hong Kong will not be harmed in the process. And this is a message I keep giving to American politicians. Because you're not aiming to hurt Hong Kong, are you? You're not. But if in the process you hurt us directly, then it would be very tragic.
Well, the Parliament here debates democracy as it may exist post-1997, but in large measure that will indeed be up to the Chinese. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you joining us. It is now 16 minutes after the hour. We'll continue in just a moment. Stay with us.
Here's a pop quiz for you. How much is this Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra with airbag, anti-lock brakes, and all of this equipment? Well, maybe before value pricing, but now it's only $14,195. Now, can you tell me what value pricing is? No, more for less. And if this Cutlass Sierra, which gets 31 miles per gallon highway, was traveling east at 55 miles per hour, how far could you get on a half a tank of gas? It's your money.
Our lowest prices of the year. Harrison's Furniture, the final weekend for this extraordinary offer. Discover the difference. And this week, save up to a full 50% off store-wide on America's finest crafted quality furniture. The furniture you've always dreamed about at our lowest prices of the year. Up to a full 50% off. Plus, pay no interest and make no payments for 6 full months. Offer ends this Monday, only at Harrison's Furniture.
Welcome to Andorra.
Hi.
A small town where ordinary people...
How's Mama?
She's fat. Lead extraordinary lives.
Oh, my.
Johnny Depp.
Come on down, buddy.
Juliette Lewis.
I'm not sorry. He's not sorry. We're not sorry.
And Academy Award nominee Leonardo DiCaprio.
I could go at any time.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, March 4th.
Heart patients from all over the world come to the Cleveland Clinic for treatment. Now the Cleveland Clinic and EMH Regional Medical Center are bringing that world-class cardiac care to Lorain County. EMH proudly announces its affiliation with the Cleveland Clinic's Department of Cardiovascular Surgery, making Lorain County's finest cardiac care facility that much better. EMH Regional Medical Center and the Cleveland Clinic. World-class care, close to home.
If you want to see the sights and really get a taste of what this is like, you need to take a taxi. A water taxi, that is.
Yes, you can come down here to Aberdeen Harbor, and for between $7 and $10 US, and the fare is negotiable, you'll find out, you can get on one of these sampans and tour around Aberdeen Harbor, and many of the tourists who come here do exactly that. And you'll see that a lot of people live out in the harbor. Now, the other day, Joan, Spencer, and I came down to Aberdeen Harbor, and along with Winnie Chan, who's been our guide through the week, we got on one of the sampans, and we even went out and visited one family's floating home.
Let me get on first, Joan, and I'll give you a helping hand, okay? Okay.
I know, and I'm
You're
on my own, right?
Yeah.
I must say this is about as colorful as anything I've seen.
Oh, it really is. I love it. It's great. They really go fast, too. Oh, watch this. Near miss, near miss, near miss. Woo! Woody, come over here.
Winnie, you're the one with the expertise. Yeah, come on over here.
Yeah, does everybody here have a little space with their name on it, or how does it work? How does it work? It's first come, first serve. And if somebody's in your space that you were in yesterday,
So you hook up next to it when they come back. So there is no set place. And they've been here so long, they know how wide, how narrow they can let the
but
big
look,
boat.
we're all like this coming up. I mean, do people run into each other?
Oh, well, quite often, but not seriously.
But that's why all the tires are
Yeah.
Most of these operators are women?
On the sampans?
And most of them.
Yeah.
Coming up the Jumbo Floating Restaurant. There's the one right in the middle. Yeah.
These are floating restaurants.
Yeah, it's actually floating.
Yo, you reach this only by sampan?
Yeah, by boat.
You guys hungry? I got lunch here.
Wow.
Check it out.
Don't let him splash.
Here, what do you think?
Splashing.
That's a 10 pound, I don't know.
Must be 10 pounds.
10 pounds?
This place is huge.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of the eating places.
Not just tourists though, lots of Chinese people here, lots of locals.
In the morning time, it's mainly local around.
Then tourists at night.
Yeah.
Winnie, what's the advantage of living out in one of these things?
Well, basically it's free of charge. First come, first serve. You don't have to pay anything living in a houseboat like these.
No rent.
No rent at all.
And that's compared to a very small, like one little room apartment at $850
US dollars.
I mean, that's very expensive.
Yeah. That's the boat that we're going to go on. The family, the Hall family. Yeah, that's right. So I'd like you to meet Mrs. Hall. This is junior Mrs. Hall.
Right.
How many people live on this boat?
Six.
How many generations? 3 generations?
3 generations in this boat.
I noticed this little tyke right here is tied to a tether. I saw him walking around. Is that so that just to make sure? I mean, because obviously
he doesn't fall off. Sure.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Now these boats are all in an enclosed area, and the protection was put up. I mean, there are actually barriers that were constructed in order to protect these boats from the destructive forces of typhoons, which are all too common in this area. And on that typhoon note, I'll throw over to Spencer Christian, who can tell us about these very, very fierce storms. Spencer?
You know, typhoons are essentially the same as what we call hurricanes. They just have different names in different parts of the world. They're both tropical cyclones in the Atlantic and in the eastern North Pacific. They're called hurricanes. In the western North Pacific and the South China Seas, they're called cyclones. They're devastating. Strong winds and heavy rains. and that's what they are. In our next half hour, we're going to take a look at American goods made in China when Good Morning America continues.
For the first time on video.
I'm a fox. I'm a hound.
Two friends having fun. Two friends sharing adventures. Two friends who don't know they're supposed to be enemies.
We'll always be friends forever.
It's an electrifying story on video for the first time.
Run, Dad, run!
Filled with adventure and foot-stomping fun.
I think I bet my beak.
Walt Disney's classic, The Fox and the Hound, on video cassette. Available for a limited time.
Attention Basic 4 lovers. Now there's more to Basic 4. More raisins, berries, apples, almonds, walnuts. 25% more fruited nuts in every box. Now more than ever, Basic 4 tastes so good, you'll forget it's for adults.
What's all the noise about? Yeoh Play Crunchin' Yogurt. You mix it, you crunch it. 99% fat-free. Sound satisfying? Yeoh Play Crunchin' Yogurt. Do it for you.
Me too. We got soda, OJ, purple stuff, and 2 kinds of Sunny D.
2 kinds.
All right.
Some kids love the rich and tangy taste of original Sunny Delight. Others go for the lighter texture and smoother orange taste of California style. Moms love the vitamins in both.
Hey, your mama's cool. Yeah, I know.
Sunny Delight, the good stuff kids go for.
2 of a kind. For your information, we're 2 of a kind. 2 of a kind. It's my observation, we're 2 of a kind. Like peas in a pod, and birds of a feather, alone or together you'll find.
Introducing Best Friends from MCI. A 40% savings for you and someone you call all the time.
Now, from News Channel 5, Cleveland's live 24-hour news source continues.
Good morning once again. I'm Bill Yunkin. His family is torn apart by fire. 3 of his children die, and just as the remaining family members begin to pick up the pieces, his wife tragically dies as well. It's a story we first told you about February 2nd, and since then, Robert Newsom has had to deal with an array of emotions. He's still very distraught over the sudden death of his wife, Brenda, and the loss of his daughter and 2 sons. But last night, for just a few precious minutes, he found peace and happiness again as he was able to hold his newborn baby, Patrick, for the very first time.
Get some here,
Good little man.
Oh, hide that face on me. Bring it out.
Doctors say Patrick might be able to go home by the end of this week. Later today, Patrick's older brother, Robbie Jr., is expected to pay him a visit. We want to thank Mr. Newsom for letting us go along and tape this precious moment. Another night, another high-speed chase. This time, 2 stolen vehicles are involved. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured when one of the vehicles, a Chevy Blazer, was involved in a multi-car accident on Northfield Road near I-480. Suspects in the second vehicle, also a 4-wheel drive, were chased to a ball field in Cleveland's 4th District. 3 suspects in all were arrested. Officials are looking for a 4th. Several police departments took part in that chase. Earlier in the day, a police foot chase caused quite a scene downtown as officers subdued a suspect near Public Square. Police say he was peddling merchandise without a license and causing a disturbance. When he refused to leave the scene, police tried to arrest him. That's when he took off on foot. As you can see, it took several officers and plenty of muscle to arrest the man. Police say he's wanted on an outstanding warrant. He will be charged with aggravated disorderly conduct and resisting arrest later this morning. And here's a story that's really gone to the dogs, so to speak. We're talking about the Puppy Hut, a fast food restaurant for Fido and Fifi located in Toledo. They serve up all the goodies dogs love, from chicken fingers to pizza. The owners of the restaurant tested their menu at a local dog shelter and say, well, they got tail-wagging reviews. I'll bet. We'll be back with Mark's weather forecast in just a minute.
Only certain women can wear red because of the way it makes you feel. Strong, powerful, incredibly sexy. Capable of revealing everything, yet compromising nothing. It's the ultimate expression of a woman.
Red by Giorgio Beverly Hills. This gift, an $85 value, is yours with any $40 red fragrance purchase. Available at Dillard's.
The Olympic Games feature our nation's best. Now, your Jeep and Eagle dealers are featuring theirs during the Jeep and Eagle National Drive for the Gold sale. Buy or lease Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo at special savings. Buy or lease Eagle Vision. Get $300 cash back on Jeep Wrangler and great values on Cherokee Sport. So drive for the gold at your dealer now and drive away a winner.
See your Superstar Jeep and Eagle dealer for the best in automotive sales, service, and value.
I know a lot of people like all this snow for skiing and outdoor activities, but for the rest of us, less than a month till spring, right?
Absolutely. Right, about 26 days left until springtime. We are counting them down. In the meantime, we're back to where we should be weather-wise. After some thunder yesterday, some temperatures near 50 degrees in Cleveland. It was like springtime. First it was winter, then freezing rain, then thunder, then back to snow overnight.
All the bases covered.
All the bases covered. About an inch of snow fell in Cleveland overnight, 2 to 3 inches in the Akron-Canton area with some heavier snow, as you see, moving through eastern Ohio. Good news is that is out of here, and we're just left with some flurry activity that will be moving in and out of the area over the next little while, probably for most of the day. You may even see a peak of sunshine sometime this afternoon. We hope so. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that. 27 degrees in Cleveland. I don't think we're going to get much warmer than that today, maybe 28. That'll be about it. Temperatures holding steady or else falling a little bit with some colder air moving in. Akron-Canton, 27. Mansfield, 25. Lots of clouds today, scattered flurries. In the snow belt, you could pick up a snow shower that may dump an inch or two on you. West winds 10 to 20 over that open water could cause that squall. Our high today right around 28, 27. No warmer. Mostly overcast, cold tonight, low down to 17. Our extended forecast, Friday, we'll have some more snow, 1 to 3 inches, high of 27.
All right, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rah, rah, rah.
Have a great day.
We are the workers of Yeoh Nike factory in China. We would like to say, good morning, America.
Now, they were taught that phonetically. I think they did a
marvelous job.
Great
Absolutely.
job. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joan Lunden.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us on this Thursday, February 24th, and we have a very bustling site for our show here today in Hong Kong.
Absolutely, and we're going to take a look in this coming up half hour at what I think to most Americans will be a rather unfamiliar manufacturing site for a whole lot of really very familiar American products. Right up the road, mainland China, and our money editor Tyler Mathisen will show us how they just do it. If you see a lot of commercials in America, you know that's a hint.
We're also going to take a look at the Hong Kong movie industry. Who better to do that than our Joel Siegel? Would you go see a movie with Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh?
Yeah.
Everybody here in Hong Kong, with the Hong Kong movie industry is huge, the third largest in the world, and Jackie and Michelle are the two people who keep the Hong Kong movie industry alive and literally kicking. Also, we'll have a look at Macau, which is a nearby Portuguese island, which will also, like Hong Kong, be turned over to the Chinese in the latter part of this century. But there is a critical difference. In Macau, there has long cooperation, a history of cooperation between the Portuguese and the Chinese, so that's gone rather smoothly.
Yeah.
There have been bumps in the road turning Hong Kong over to the Chinese, but as we say, the Macau situation, much better, although Macau, people have an image of it, and it's rather different than you'd expect. We're going to go back to New York now for the news. Here's Morton Dean.
Good morning, everyone. Spies, lies, and executions. Accused double agent Aldrich Ames is said to have betrayed a number of Soviet citizens who were spying for the U.S. This morning's New York Times reports 10 Soviets were executed, and Ames managed to pass CIA polygraph tests twice during the years he allegedly was spying for Moscow. Nancy Kerrigan now has a golden opportunity. She's in first place after a nearly flawless routine in the first part of the women's Olympic figure skating competition. Tanya Harding had a harder time, and the judges put her in 10th place. Some of Harding's fans were angry, but they conceded that her program was not perfect.
She was not a 6.0. I don't expect the judges to have done that, but she certainly did not deserve that 4.8. I mean, come on, you guys. I think what they did was took the little mistake that she made and absolutely blew it out of proportion.
The ice was nice to another American, speed skater Bonnie Blair. She won her 5th gold medal yesterday in the 1,000-meter speed skating competition. Bonnie Blair now has more gold medals than any other American woman in Olympic history. There has been a breakdown on the information superhighway. Two companies that were to have joined forces to create new communications technologies have put the brakes on a planned merger. ABC's Stephen Ogg has that story and more in his morning economic report.
Good morning. The biggest communications merger of all time is off.
Bell Atlantic and Telecommunications Incorporated called off their merger because of what they called a changed regulatory climate and market conditions. In part, a second cable TV rate cut ordered by the FCC that upset financial projections. The two sides have been having a tough time anyway, settling the details of the merger announced last year.
Now they say they're discussing joint ventures to build full-service telephone and cable networks. Meanwhile, McDonald's, the biggest fast food chain, says no more smoking at its 1,400 company-owned restaurants. Add that to the franchise McDonald's that have already banned smoking, and about a third of McDonald's domestic restaurants are now smoke-free. This just as the fast food industry endorsed legislation that would prohibit smoking in all public places. And the computer business. For the first time, Microsoft has lost a patent infringement suit. A federal jury in Los Angeles wants Microsoft to pay Stack Electronics $120 million for infringing on a patent that allows more data to be stored on a disk. The jury also ruled that Stack must pay Microsoft $13.7 million for infringing on a Microsoft patent. Microsoft will appeal. Finally, remember all the hullabaloo about switching to metric? Well, the General Accounting Office in this report says the government's been making dramatic strides, but it's largely unsuccessful. With few products available in metric, the government is to make exceptions to its own rules when it buys everything from ships to satellites. They're not using metric measurements. The GAO says neither consumers nor businesses appear to want to switch, and the government cannot do it alone. That's a look at the economy.
And that's Stephen Ogg on business. Now back to Good Morning America on Hong Kong.
Back at Aberdeen Boat Club on Aberdeen Harbor, and when you look out on the harbor, you notice the contrast between the old boats and the new boats. There are about 2,000 or 6,000 boats on the harbor, depending on whom you talk to and what day of the week it is. About 1,000 of those boats are yachts, and the remainder are the junks or the fishing boats and the sampans or the water taxis. Many of these boats are permanently docked, and they house large families who live in them. Now, that's a look at Aberdeen Harbor. Here's a look at the National Weather Forecast. And now here's a look at the high temperatures. That's the national weather picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Expect cloudy skies today with scattered flurries off and on, maybe a peak of sunshine by late this afternoon. We'll have a high of 28 degrees. Mostly cloudy and cold overnight, our low dropping down to 17. On and off snow showers tomorrow, 1 to 3 inches possible, high 27.
And that's the weather for this half hour. When we come back, how Nike just does it in southern China. As Good Morning America continues from Hong Kong in just a moment.
Hello. So, what'd you think of that Bonneville? Did you drive it? Oh, that SSCI is terrific. Yeah. Supercharged, traction control, ABS, dual airbags, leather. What a car. I told you. And you were right. It's thousands less than the BMW or the Lexus. Well? I'm picking it up tomorrow. I owe you one, pal. Okay. I'll take a white one.
This week, a case of global proportions. Meet Suparna Singh. Every weekend, her MO was the same. Her brother in Bombay, grandparents in Great Britain. She loved being in constant contact, except when she got her phone bill. Her crime? Not taking advantage of Sprint's new offer to split the cost of calls all weekend long. Don't let this happen to you. Call now before it's too late. An offer this good can't last forever.
Only Sprint gives you 50% off calls to every country all weekend long.
If you suffer from an inflamed, itchy rash caused by eczema, psoriasis, or other skin irritations, you can get the relief medication formerly available only by doctor's prescription. It's the medicine in maximum strength cortisone 10. Look, cortisone 10 applied to this itchy rash gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. See? The rash is gone. To relieve itchy rashes and skin irritations, use maximum strength cortisone 10 with the medicine doctors recommend most. Available without prescription.
We kill germs that cause bad breath. We fight plaque above the gum line. We go on to battle the gum infection, gingivitis. We are Listerine antiseptic.
Mom, where's my homework?
Even on your busiest mornings, all it takes is 90 seconds to make them instant Quaker oatmeal instead of cold cereal. Instant Quaker oatmeal.
My keys.
For moms who have a lot of love.
Here, Mom.
But not a lot of time.
It is now 38 minutes after the hour. Hong Kong is really a fascinating example of what we mean by the term global economy. This tiny colony is actually the 10th largest economy in the world. But the looming giant in the global economy, just 20 miles north of here, talking about communist China. Ever since China began its economic reforms in the early 80s, southern China has boomed because of the availability of cheap labor. Among the products made in communist China, as our money editor Tyler Mathisen will tell you, you may be wearing a pair of them on your feet.
Hey, Mike, I got my own shoe with my own initials on it.
You've seen the ads.
Well, can you do this in your shoe, Mr. I don't play anymore?
You may even have worn the shoes. But you've probably never seen this. The workers who just do it. Cut the hide, stitch the leather, and glue the soles for one of America's top corporate success stories.
More and more American companies are doing what Nike does, manufacturing in booming southern China, just up the Pearl River from Hong Kong, where the labor is plentiful, skilled, and inexpensive.
They are easily trained, diligent workers. Our industry is very labor intensive, and there's a need for skilled, inexpensive labor.
Inexpensive indeed. The Taiwanese firm that makes the shoes for Nike in southern China pays its 7,000 workers between $1.50 and $2 a day, plus room and board, for 10 hours of work 6 days a week. In China, though, that's actually a good wage, especially when you consider that an engineer with 20 years' experience working for the Chinese government makes roughly the same amount. Working conditions are generally best in large new factories doing business with major multinational clients like Nike. Some workers, sadly, are not so lucky. Up to 200 people were reported killed in Shenzhen last November when fire swept through this factory that made toys for an Italian company. All the windows had been welded shut to prevent burglaries. Still, literally millions of job seekers are flocking from the north and west of China to coastal cities like Shenzhen, home of this Super Mario Brothers toy factory, where the wages are higher and the economy is booming at 33% a year.
I would say now that in southern China, the wages may be 5 times what they are for the national average of China.
Workers often return home only for the New Year's holiday, their hard lives dictated by necessity and a manufacturing cycle that frequently starts thousands of miles away in the United States. Take the $2 billion apparel maker Liz Claiborne. The clothing is designed in New York. Then Hong Kong takes over.
The designer will select the raw material, select the type of product that we're going to make, and send it off to a market such as Hong Kong if that's the location we're going to begin the production in.
Claiborne produces as many as 10 million garments a year here in Hong Kong and southern China. The attraction, again, low labor costs. Producing the same item in New York City could add $100 to the price tag. The cost advantage is why Nike makes about 25% of its footwear in China. So on your next slam dunk, remember that it's the shoes and that they may well have been stitched together here in China.
It's fascinating the way all these economies intertwine. It's now 41 minutes after the hour. When we come back, Joel Siegel with a report on Hong Kong's thriving movie industry. That one, Good Morning America, continues.
Travel by Japan Airlines, featuring a world of comfort to Japan and the rest of Asia. JAL Mileage Bank Awards include the Orient, Europe, Mexico, Hawaii, and the Caribbean.
From Walt Disney Pictures, Preston Waters just took 3 crooks for $1 million.
Yay!
Now he's teaching them that crime doesn't pay.
That must have hurt.
Disney's Blank Check, rated PG, now playing.
From Touchstone Pictures, critics and audiences agree My Father the Hero is the year's most charming, wonderful delight.
What are you wearing?
It's hilarious and pure crowd-pleasing entertainment. Oh, no! Gerard Depardieu, My Father the Hero, rated PG, now playing.
Your Pontiac dealers are so excited by the Cleveland Auto Show, they're seeing double. So they're doubling current factory rebates with special auto show incentives on their two most popular models. For a limited time, qualifying buyers can double their value on new Grand Ams with $500 extra cash back for a total of $1,000. Or double your value on Bonneville with $750 extra cash back for a total of $1,500. Double your excitement with special auto show incentives. Get the details at the Cleveland Auto Show or see your Northern Ohio Pontiac dealer today.
A Florida vacation with the kind of memories that last a lifetime. Just 90 minutes from the everlasting magic of Walt Disney World lies another enchanted land, the beaches of St. Petersburg, Clearwater. For a free visitor's guide or to make hotel reservations, call 1-800-345-6710. St. Petersburg, Clearwater, where the magic lasts a lifetime.
It's Baker's greatest one-day sale. The guaranteed lowest prices of the year at all 8 Baker's furniture stores throughout Cleveland. Special hours 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. to save on Bassett, Sealy, Thomasville, and Lane. Your favorite brand names, the largest selection in Cleveland, and all at the lowest prices. One day, Saturday. One place, Baker's. Selection, the largest. Delivery, immediate. Satisfaction, guaranteed. The lowest prices of the year, period. Baker's is Cleveland's leader in furniture value, selection, and service.
We are back at Aberdeen Harbor here in Hong Kong. I'm sure that you can all name the #1 movie-making capital of the world. That's an easy one. It's Hollywood, of course. But did you know that Hong Kong is #3? It's behind Hollywood and then India. Joel Siegel took a closer look at the Hong Kong film industry. He found out that it's a world all unto itself. It has its own big stars and its own distinctive style.
135 films were made here last year. Film is a multi-billion-dollar Hong Kong dollar industry. The costume dramas, the Cantonese soap operas made from soup to nuts in a month or two don't travel and aren't intended to.
God, I love being a turtle!
But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was produced here. Yes, they have. Pizza Dude in Hong Kong. Farewell My Concubine, Oscar-nominated, was last year's best foreign film. Bruce Lee was Hong Kong's first international star. Today, Jackie Chan is Hong Kong and Asia's biggest star. No stone superhero, his characters have a sense of humor. That's his secret. That's why his 40 films have grossed close to 2 billion Hong Kong dollars. That's 250 million American. And that's just in this one town.
When I'm making a movie, like a baseball, the people, I don't think people sitting there to watch the people. They don't like it. They only like, boom, home run. All my fighting, almost everything, home run. Bam, home run. Bam.
Look at this scene. No cuts. There's no way to cheat it. He does his own stunts. One reason, there's not enough money for special effects.
When you watch Jackie Chan movie, nobody can do it. It's very few people can do it. I do understand by myself. I think the audience come inside to see me. It's not see the double. 20 years, 60 years later, I can sit down to the theater in my home. I can tell the people, hey, that's me. I don't think a lot of American actors, I don't think they sit down, hey, that's me. No, that's the double.
I met Michelle Yeoh at Victoria Peak, Hong Kong's highest paid actress. She lives here and jogs here to keep in shape.
Can you show me how to throw a punch?
Today she was walking because yesterday she was in traction. She does her own stunts, too. She also spent 6 years in London studying ballet. It shows, doesn't it?
I have to go around convincing people that I need the door open for me. I would like you to help me down the stairs. You know, I mean, I would like to be treated like a woman.
In Super Cop, last year's Hong Kong huge hit, Michelle Yeoh and Jackie Chan take on a drug lord's private army, take a helicopter chase through downtown Kuala Lumpur, and end up in a car chase that almost cost Michelle her life for real. This is the way the first take looked. A Jackie Chan trademark, he runs outtakes over the closing credits. He invited me along to the premiere of his newest film, Drunken Master 2.
Are you nervous at all?
No.
Huh?
Used to it.
Yeah?
Yeah, used to it.
How about your first premiere? Were you nervous for the first one?
Before, yes.
Going to a Jackie Chan movie with Jackie Chan is a lot of fun and a little bit dangerous. Half a dozen times he nudged me and said, after stunt, go right to hospital. Then there'd be another spectacular leap or crash or fall, and he'd nudge me and say, after stunt, go right to hospital. Which is one reason I'm giving this movie a rave. I don't want to have to say, after review, go right to hospital.
All right, thank you, Joel. Now, even though they have a big movie industry here, American films are still really popular. So we thought we'd give you an idea of what your choice would be if, you know, on a Friday night here you wanted to go out to the movies. You do see Jackie Chan's movies playing, but also here's Al Pacino and Carlito's Way, The Pelican Brief, a little Disney movie, Jungle Book, quite appropriately, The Joy Luck Club. I don't see a Sylvester Stallone movie here right at the moment. However, he was here recently, about a week and a half ago. He was mobbed in the streets. Chantal interviewed him, and we'll have that interview coming up a little later in the show. But coming up next, we'll give you a look at Macau. Really interesting place, and it, like Hong Kong, will revert to the Chinese before the end of the century. Good Morning America continues from Hong Kong in just a moment.
Vertical stripes, dark colors, and layers are designed to conceal. But after indulging in classic chocolate chip for a month, I'm ready to reveal because I lost 8 pounds. With Nestle Sweet Success, the weight loss plan for chocolate lovers. A creamy Nestle shake for breakfast, another for lunch, a sensible dinner, and even a chewy snack, all for the same calories as other diet plans. So lose the layered look with the only diet that starts with Nestle and ends with sweet success.
You want to keep your teeth for life, and Oral-B wants to help. Introducing Oral-B Anti-Plaque Rinse. It contains an active ingredient that kills 90% of plaque bacteria on contact. Plaque that brushing and flossing may leave behind, which means it has the same goal as you and your dentist, making sure your permanent teeth stay that way. New natural mint-flavored anti-plaque rinse from Oral-B. Makers of the toothbrush more dentists use.
Eternity, Calvin Klein.
Your gift with any $32 Eternity from Men purchase at Dillard's.
We're at this seafood restaurant famous for shrimp. Say, how many shrimp they give you?
I don't know, 5, 6.
Really? Over Denny's, they're having an all-you-can-eat shrimp feast.
Oh, we got fries, too.
Yeah, Denny's, you get fries, coleslaw, and all the shrimp you can eat.
Mine was under $10.
Denny's is $6.99.
Oh, but we had this beautiful fishnet thing over our table.
Denny's puts all the shrimp you can eat on the table.
Oh, ours was on a plate.
Denny's, $6.99, all-you-can-eat shrimp feast. Say, how many shrimp they give you?
What?
Hong Kong has a neighbor whose future is also inextricably linked to China. It is the territory currently under Portuguese administration called Macau, and Macau is actually the oldest European settlement on the South China coast. Deborah Wong, the ABC News Beijing correspondent who has been with us through the week, and it's been nice to have you here, recently visited Macau. It also reverts to Chinese control end of the century, right?
That's right.
Hong Kong, rather Macau, is a tiny settlement, just about 10 square miles, less than 10 square miles, west of Hong Kong along the South China coast. It shares a similar political fate to Hong Kong in that it reverts to Chinese rule in 1999. That's 2 years after Hong Kong does. And it too will be governed by the one country, two systems principle. But that is where the similarities end. It's only an hour from Hong Kong, but in many ways it's a world apart. A piece of old Portugal adrift in the South China Sea. The Portuguese settled the city more than 4 centuries ago, but Macau's heyday ended when bustling Hong Kong came on the scene in the mid-1800s. Enrique de Sena Fernandes is a writer whose family has been in Macau for 6 generations. He says the Macanese revel in their slower-paced, more Latin lifestyle.
People in Macau, they like to long dinners and a long lunch. They like to eat, like to drink, like to talk, and to enjoy life.
Over the centuries, Portuguese and Chinese traditions have coexisted, some blending to create a culture unique to Macau. What Macau is perhaps best known for is its nightlife and its thriving casinos. It's a tradition that's been around since colonial days. But now, gambling is the largest single industry in Macau and the biggest draw for the 8 million tourists who come here every year. Each Chinese New Year, the governor himself inaugurates the new gambling season. After decades of taking it easy, Macau is now trying hard to catch up with Hong Kong. It's embarked on a huge construction campaign that is transforming the old city. While that may be progress to some, to others it means the end of what has made Macau special.
We have a soul here. It's our soul here. We have something we created here. It's a pity we lose all the characteristic typical of Macau.
There were British-Chinese negotiations over returning Hong Kong to China, Portuguese negotiations with China over returning Macau. Any different?
Have been much more smooth. Relations have been much better between Macau and Portugal and China. And one reason I think is because Macau has always been something of a political sideshow to the Hong Kong story. It's less important politically, less important economically to the Chinese. So because there's less at stake, I think they've been able to have a much better relationship.
People here are worried about China. Are they in Macau?
Less so, because it's a fait accompli. It's been that way for several decades.
All right, Deborah Wong, thank you very much. And it has been good to have you here this week.
Thanks.
It is now 5 minutes before the hour. We'll continue. Stay with us.
Every time you have an awful cold, do you try a new cold remedy? Well, the search is over. Introducing Robitussin Liquid Gels. Powerful, non-drowsy relief for your cold.
Feeling better?
Yeah. New Robitussin Liquid Gels. Finally, Robitussin relief for your cold.
If you've had excess gas when taking these, try Citracel. All other powdered fibers contain psyllium, which may initially cause gas and bloating. But Citracel's fiber is as effective without producing gas. Citracel, effective relief without the gas.
Oh, this is very good. You're drinking new Carnation Instant Breakfast.
Tastes like a chocolate milkshake.
Yeah, but it's low in fat with 19 vitamins and minerals. Yeah, come on, read the package.
It says strawberry cream, French vanilla, and creamy milk chocolate.
Yeah, how about all the calcium and iron?
I'm still in the chocolate part.
Oh, forgive me. Do you know that new Carnation Instant Breakfast has absolutely no preservatives or artificial flavors?
Cool.
Our lowest prices of the year. Harrison's Furniture, the final weekend for this extraordinary offer. Discover the difference. And this week, save up to a full 50% off store-wide on America's finest crafted quality furniture. The furniture you've always dreamed about at our lowest prices of the year. Up to a full 50% off. Plus, pay no interest and make no payments for 6 full months. Offer ends this Monday, only at Harrison's Furniture.
Dad has always been proud of me. He was so impressed when I graduated from medical school and when my practice got going. Now I've leased a '94 Cadillac DeVille with a luxurious interior, the AirBank system that helps to protect all 3 front seat passengers, and an attractive smart lease. Dad's so proud, he tells everyone his little girl is driving a Cadillac.
See your local Cadillac Gold Key dealers for attractive smart lease terms on a new 1994 Cadillac DeVille.
Good Morning America in Hong Kong is brought to you by Nestle Sweet Success.
Some of the audience kind enough to join us today. Wave to all the folks back home. You get a chance there. That's absolutely. The Gibson family is right here. 15 years in Hong Kong. The two boys born here, but you still miss your New York sports. Is that right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, which team?
I love the New York Yankees.
What do you think of the Mulholland deal? How about you? You're a Knick fan?
Yeah, New York Knicks.
This is Jay. Are they still in first?
Yep.
Yeah, he keeps track even though they're here. We'll be back. Second hour coming up.
Accommodations provided by the Regent Hong Kong, overlooking magnificent Victoria Harbor and Hong Kong Island. With luxurious rooms, award-winning cuisine, and impeccable service, the Regent among the world's finest hotels.
Imagine a killer on the train, a plane down in icy water, a major earthquake. An hour of stories about people who made it through tragedies most of us can't even imagine. Survivors on a special edition of Primetime tonight.
You've just been scooped.
You don't know the depths to which this woman will stoop to get a story.
Lois's rival goes after Clark.
I only have eyes for you.
You stay away from him.
Will Lois lose Clark for good?
You two deserve each other.
Lois and Clark, Sunday.
Now, from News Channel 5, Cleveland's live 24-hour news source continues.
Good morning once again. I'm Bill Yunkin. The Eaton Corporation plans to shut down its East Lake plant. Eaton is merging its controls operations and plans to cut some 1,200 workers across the U.S. and Canada. And Cleveland homicide detectives this morning are questioning an East Cleveland man in connection with the shooting death of Osceola